Sleeping peacefully in his mansion after the biggest show of his career, Fat Joe thought he was finally safe from his dangerous past. But at 3:47 a.m., his phone rang with a voice that made his blood run cold. "You have 48 hours to leave New York forever, or you're dead." The caller knew details about his family, his schedule, his security, and information that should have been impossible to get. But what Fat Joe discovered about who was protecting him would shock him more than the death threat itself. Because the person keeping him alive wasn't someone he had paid for protection. It was someone he thought he had lost forever. If you want to see how loyalty from the past can save your future, and how sometimes your greatest enemy becomes your guardian angel, hit subscribe right now, because this story will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last word. September 12, 2010. Fat Joe's private estate, Westchester County. Joey had finally made it to the level of success he had dreamed about since childhood. The mansion, the security gates, the team of bodyguards, everything was supposed to keep the dangers of his past from reaching into his present. His latest album had debuted at #1. His tour was sold out worldwide, and for the first time in his life, he felt truly untouchable. But the phone call at 3:47 a.m. shattered that illusion completely. The voice was calm, professional, terrifying in its certainty. "Fat Joe, you have 48 hours to disappear from New York permanently. Take your family, take your money, and never come back. This isn't a negotiation. This isn't a warning you'll get twice." Joey sat up in bed, instantly alert, his mind racing through possibilities. "Who is this? What do you want?" "I want you to understand that your success has made you a target for people you don't even know exist. People who see your influence in the Latino community as a threat to their operations. You've gotten too big, too powerful, too respected. That makes you dangerous to certain interests." But the caller knew details that made Joey's blood run cold. The voice continued with information that should have been impossible to obtain. "Your daughter has dance class on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. on the Upper East Side. Your wife shops at the same grocery store every Thursday morning. Your mother lives in apartment 3B at the Riverdale complex, and she takes the same bus to church every Sunday at 9 a.m. Joey's hands were shaking now. This wasn't just some random threat. Someone had been studying his family, learning their routines, preparing for something that would destroy everyone he loved. "What do you want from me?" "Money? I can pay whatever. This isn't about money. This is about territory, influence, and power. Your success threatens people who have been controlling the streets and the music industry for decades. They want you gone, permanently. The only question is whether you leave alive or dead." The line went dead, leaving Joey staring at his phone in the darkness of his bedroom, understanding that everything he had built might be about to collapse. What Joey didn't know was that he had been under protection for months. 3 blocks away from Joey's mansion, Detective Carlos Rivera sat in an unmarked police car, speaking into a secure radio. Target received the threat, moving to phase 2 of the operation. Detective Rivera wasn't just any cop. He was Joey's childhood friend from the South Bronx, someone who had chosen law enforcement while Joey had chosen music. They had lost touch over the years as their lives took different paths, but Carlos had been secretly monitoring threats against Joey for the past 18 months. The death threat wasn't random. It was part of an elaborate federal investigation into organized crime families who were trying to expand their control over the hip-hop industry. Joey's influence and independence made him an obstacle to their plans, and federal agents had been tracking assassination plans against him for weeks. Carlos had volunteered for the undercover assignment specifically because he knew Joey's personality, his habits, his family. He also knew that Joey would never accept police protection voluntarily. His street credibility and his relationship with his community depended on appearing independent and unafraid. Right at this moment, Joey's phone rang again. This time the voice was different, younger, more urgent, but somehow familiar. "Joey, don't hang up. My name is Carlos Rivera. We went to middle school together in the Bronx. I know you probably don't remember me, but I remember you, and right now I might be the only thing standing between you and a bullet." Joey searched his memory, and slowly a face emerged. Carlos Rivera, Mesa skinny kid, who always talked about becoming a cop while everyone else dreamed of being rappers or dealers. "Carlos, what the hell are you talking about? How do you know about the phone call?" "Because I'm a detective with the NYPD Organized Crime Unit, and we've been tracking a conspiracy to eliminate several high-profile hip-hop artists who refuse to cooperate with certain criminal organizations. You're at the top of their list." Joey felt the world spinning around him. "Are you telling me the police have been watching me, without my knowledge? I'm telling you that there are people planning to kill you and your family, and I've been working for months to prevent that from happening. The threat you just received was real, but it was also part of our operation to flush out the people behind the conspiracy." The truth that Carlos revealed was more shocking than the death threat. Joey, there's a crime family that's been systematically taking control of record labels, distribution companies, and streaming platforms. They eliminate artists who won't play by their rules, and they're especially threatened by Latino artists who have independent success. You represent everything they're trying to prevent. Carlos explained that the criminal organization had already been responsible for the deaths of 3 underground rappers, and the accidents that had ended 2 other careers. Fat Joe's success, his independence, and his influence in the Latino community made him a priority target. The phone call tonight was designed to scare you into running, which would have made you an easier target. They have people watching airports, train stations, even private airfields. If you had tried to leave New York tonight, you would have been intercepted and killed. Joey processed this information, understanding that his success had painted a target on his back that he never knew existed. So what happens now? Am I supposed to hide forever? Now we finish the operation. We use you as bait to draw out the people behind the threats, and we arrest everyone involved before they can hurt you or anyone else. What Carlos proposed next terrified and excited Joey at the same time. We need you to continue your normal schedule for the next 48 hours. Go to the studio, go to meetings, act like nothing has changed. But you'll be wearing a wire, and there will be federal agents disguised as your crew, your security, even people in the crowds wherever you go. The plan was to use Joey's visibility to force the criminal organization into making their move while law enforcement was prepared to intercept them. It was dangerous, but it was also the only way to end the threat permanently. Carlos, why are you doing this for me? We haven't spoken in 15 years. You could have let some other detective handle this case. Carlos was quiet for a moment before answering. Because in middle school, when those older kids were trying to steal my lunch money every day, you stood up for me. You didn't have to, and it probably cost you some street credibility, but you did it anyway. I never forgot that. Now it's my turn to stand up for you. The memory came flooding back to Joey, Carlos being picked on by bullies, and Joey stepping in even though Carlos wasn't part of his crew. It had seemed like a small thing at the time, but apparently it had meant everything to Carlos. The next 48 hours would test both of their courage. Joey went about his normal routine, but everything felt different knowing that killers were watching his every move, and that federal agents were watching them. Every person on the street could be an assassin or an undercover cop. Every car that followed him too long could contain either his protection or his executioners. The breakthrough came during Joey's studio session on the second day. As he worked on new tracks, Carlos's voice came through his hidden earpiece. We have visual confirmation of 3 armed suspects positioning themselves outside the building. When you leave, act normal, but be ready to hit the ground when I give you the signal. Joey continued recording, but his heart was pounding as he realized that the moment of truth was approaching. Everything depended on the federal agents being in the right positions at exactly the right time. When Joey finally left the studio, everything happened in seconds. As he walked toward his car, Carlos's voice shouted down through his earpiece. Joey dropped to the pavement just as gunshots erupted around him. Federal agents appeared from everywhere, disguised as pedestrians, emerging from parked cars, rappelling from rooftops. The arrest that followed revealed the full scope of the conspiracy. 12 people were arrested that afternoon, including 2 record label executives, a radio station program director, and several professional killers. The investigation revealed that the criminal organization had been systematically eliminating independent artists for years, replacing them with performers who would cooperate with their money laundering and drug distribution operations. Fat Joe's success and influence had made him a symbol of what was possible for Latino artists who refused to be controlled by criminal organizations. Killing him would have sent a message to every other independent artist in the hip-hop community. But the arrests also revealed something else that shocked Joey. The criminal organization had been responsible for several accidents and overdoses that had killed artists he had known and respected. People he thought had died from lifestyle choices had actually been murdered for refusing to cooperate with criminals. 6 months later, the impact of the investigation changed the entire music industry. The federal case against the criminal organization resulted in dozens of convictions and essentially dismantled a network that had been controlling significant portions of the hip-hop industry for over a decade. Independent artists gained more freedom to create and distribute music without criminal interference. Carlos was promoted to lieutenant and became the NYPD's primary liaison with the entertainment industry, helping to protect other artists from similar threats. His partnership with Joey also led to the creation of a support network for artists facing intimidation or violence. Fat Joe used his platform to raise awareness about criminal influences in the music industry, encouraging other artists to report threats and seek protection rather than trying to handle dangerous situations alone. The friendship between Joey and Carlos became stronger than ever. Their childhood connection had saved Joey's life, but more importantly, it had reminded both of them that loyalty and friendship could transcend time, distance, and different life choices. Carlos became part of Joey's inner circle, providing security advice and maintaining the investigations that kept Joey and his family safe. Joey also learned that true protection came not from walls and bodyguards, but from relationships with people who had both the capability and the motivation to keep him safe. Carlos's dedication to his safety wasn't professional obligation, it was personal loyalty based on mutual respect and shared history. The experience also changed Joey's music, making it more focused on community, loyalty, and the importance of standing up for people who need protection. He began using his platform to support law enforcement efforts against crime in the music industry, while also maintaining his credibility in communities that were traditionally suspicious of police cooperation. This is why Fat Joe's later career became so focused on community building and supporting other artists. He had learned that success could make you a target, but it could also give you the platform to protect other people facing similar threats. The death threat that could have ended his life instead led to a partnership that made him safer and stronger than ever. Sometimes the person you help when you're young becomes the person who saves your life when you're older. Carlos's loyalty proved that real friendship can literally be a matter of life and death. The operation that saved Fat Joe's life also became a model for how law enforcement could work with the entertainment industry to combat organized crime without compromising artistic freedom or community trust. Carlos developed protocols that protected artists while respecting their independence. The criminal organization that had targeted Fat Joe was part of a larger network that extended across multiple cities. The evidence gathered during the investigation led to additional operations in Los Angeles, Miami, and Atlanta, breaking up criminal networks that had been controlling portions of the music industry for decades. Fat Joe's willingness to cooperate with the investigation, despite risks to his reputation, inspired other artists to come forward with information about threats, extortion, and violence they had experienced. This created a domino effect that ultimately made the industry safer for independent artists. Most importantly, the experience taught Fat Joe that true power came not from avoiding danger but from building relationships with people who had the skills and dedication to help him face danger successfully. Carlos's protection was more valuable than any security team because it was based on genuine loyalty. The partnership between Fat Joe and Detective Carlos Rivera also became a symbol of how people from the same community could choose different paths but still support each other's success. Carlos's career in law enforcement and Joey's career in music were different expressions of the same desire to make their community stronger. Years later, when young artists asked Fat Joe for advice about dealing with threats in the music industry, he would tell them about Carlos. "Find people who knew you before you were famous," he would say. "Those are the people who will protect you when success makes you a target."